All right, welcome back, everybody. Anybody that's new here, thanks for joining me today. This is a special one. This is a Tackle Tip Tuesday. Today's Tackle Tip Tuesday is going to be based around early season movements of crappie. And actually, now that I think about it, you could probably use all these tips to find crappie pretty much all year long. It's just going to be about location at that point. So let's get into it. Okay, so yes, this is a Tackle Tip Tuesday. No, this doesn't mean I'm doing them every Tuesday for the rest of the year. I can only do that once. That's why there's a Tackle Tip Tuesday list, and it's basically got a year's worth of Tackle Tip Tuesdays because I did them every Tuesday. And if you've been around since then or before then, thank you for sticking with me and dealing with all this mediocre video action and just a lot of me fishing, and I can't help it. I love fishing, but I'm gonna try and help you guys out today. I have it over here. Somebody that's been subscribed to me for, I believe it was 4 or 5 years, Bad Need. You guys, you suggested this, and this is what I've been talking about since I started YouTube. Just comment below what you guys want me to do a video in detail on, and I'll try to break it down. So I'm going to try and break it down for you guys. Like I said to them, this is one of those things that's going to help a lot of people. This isn't like a specific thing. One thing they wanted to do was they asked, do I just know the lakes? Do I have waypoints? Or do I use sonar to find my fish? So like early season, I just had a video. I'll put it at the end of this one. If you guys haven't seen that yet, make sure your notifications are on. And if you're not subscribed, subscribe. But the big thing here in the latest video, what I did is I had started on one lake, and early season crappie, if you don't know, if you're new here, thanks for joining me. But the big thing is, if you're new to early season crappie, so like this is pre-spawn, just after ice out in the ice belt, and this stuff probably goes all the way down to like Texas and stuff like that. As long as you're crappie fishing, they're crappie. They do the same thing everywhere. Whatever cold is for your water temp, wherever you live, like the coldest it gets, those crappie are going to be bunched up and waiting early season. So like early season, just think of the beginning of the year, January, February, March, and they're waiting to move up to spawn. So one of the things that I do, and this is, I try to explain this to people. I can do this on any body of water that I go to. If it's got crappie in it, I can usually find them. Some of them move differently, and then sometimes you get lucky and unlucky as far as like going to a lake and you think it's the water's warm enough and it's not quite there, so that it's a little bit harder to backtrack and find crappie. But I like to start following them from the beginning of the warm water. And when I say warm, anything over 40 degrees in the state of Wisconsin. So that's where I'm at. And if I'm tracking fish properly, I should be able to follow them from when the water gets 40 degrees in the shallows to 45 to 50 to 55 to 55, 60 when they're actually making nest and spawning, which I tend to leave them alone when they're on spawning beds, because you can literally drop something in front of their face and like hit them on the head and it's too easy to catch them. And I like a little bit of a challenge. I don't like it too hard, but a little bit of a challenge is there. So one of the things that I do, so like the first question is, do I know the lakes? I have a general understanding of the bodies of water that I'm going to. So here's a big tip I can give you guys. If you want to go fish a new body of water, you've never been on it, online right now, so like the internet is an amazing thing if you know how to use it. Just all you have to do is look up when crappie spawn. So it's like 55, 60 degrees, 55 to 65 degrees or something like that. Then you just need to look at bodies of water as far as like topographies. Like a topo map is what you're looking for, but almost all bodies of water in the United States anyways have some kind of topo map, unless it's too small or too shallow or whatever. But that brings the biggest note is, if it is shallow, it's going to warm faster. And then here are like, these are the really, really minute details that I guess I take for granted because I've been doing it for so long. If you find a shallow body of water and it's muddy and it's got creeks that run into it, or like flow, so like even shallower water, because the shallower the water, the faster it warms up under sunlight. Like it can be 40 degrees outside, but if it's blazing sun all day long, you can actually get like 45, 50 degree water. It's interesting how it works, but that's the first thing you're looking for. So if you're trying to like hit a crappie lake, you know, like you're hitting it at the right time, you are literally looking for that body of water that's like 5 to like, I don't even look at bays and stuff like that that are deeper than like 10 feet. Clear water takes forever to warm up, so clear water lakes usually take longer for the big push of crappie and all that stuff when they start to get together. And yeah, that's like your biggest thing. So if you're trying to pick a new lake, that's another thing is like they asked if I have waypoints and sonar, but like as far as waypoints, early season crappie, the only waypoint you can have is be like this is a whole shoreline, and you can say, well, typically over the years they come in right here, but the wind could blow that day and all the warm water could be over here, so where they normally come in here, they could suddenly be over here. So it's that simple. That's another thing. There's a lot of details I could go into. Comment below if you want me to do like the nerd version of fishing, because this is what I love about fishing, and it's why I take pride in knowing what I do know about this stuff, because I've been doing it so long. I've compiled list upon list, and like there's modifications. So like I was saying about wind, this is just an off topic thing, but it works for almost any species. The surface of like, so like this is a full water column water. This stuff warms up the fastest on top, right? Well, if it blows really hard from like whatever you say, east to west or whatever, all of that water will push up and end up over here. So this part of the lake is now colder, and this part of the lake is now warmer. If you're paying attention, you'll understand that like you can go to a body of water and you're like, oh, well, it's shallow, it's dark, it should all be warm. But the wind was blowing out of the southwest, southwest all day yesterday and the day before. Well, so then the northeast side of that lake is going to be what's the warmest spot. It's not the southwest side where the wind was blowing out of and pushing all of that stuff to that other corner or other spot of the lake. So that's something that you really want to pay attention to. So that's probably my biggest tip is like pay attention to where the warmest water is going to be. And like I said, this is basically what I'm trying to base this off of all early season crappie fishing, not necessarily all the way through the year, but this will get you started following them. And then the next one, like I kind of covered it. I don't really have waypoints. My type of waypoint is like, does it have a shallow bay? Does it have shallow muddy water nearby? Is there weed patches that grow there regularly every year? Is there a spawning bay nearby? These are all things you have to keep in consideration when you're trying to pick a new lake and you're like, oh, I'm going to go to this lake and catch crappie. Like anybody can go just throw bobbers around and hope for the best. But if you're really trying to like pinpoint it, you're really trying to find that like ideal area. And that's the big thing about early season. Like they get crowded out, and a lot of times they either get fished out or the fish get spooked and then they get pushed out because so many people only have like a little area to go fish. And then once the whole lake warms up, everything kind of spreads out and everything like that. But you end up with like little areas. And that's why I try to get on it as fast as possible. And that's also why I don't talk about where I'm fishing, because if you were to go right back to that little area and everything was back in there, there'd be tens of thousands of people in one spot. And not saying that you guys can't go catch those fish, but it would make it very hard for everybody. Okay, and then the last question that was asked, and I'll see if I can think of some other things to elaborate on as far as early season crappie, was do I use sonar to find fish? So here's a big tip. Don't get used to using your sonar. I have pretty much every type of sonar except side imaging available to me. I have live scope, I have my down imaging, and then I have fish flashes and all that other stuff. But the big thing that a lot of people do is they get hooked on following their sonars around, and it's kind of goofy because you'll see guys staring at a screen all day versus actually like casting around and stuff. So a lot of times what I'll do is like, I'm not using the sonar necessarily to go find the fish. Like that's not the thing. A big thing that I do is I know where I'm going to go look, and I will use my sonars, fish finders, whatever you want to call them, to verify that I'm in the right location where fish are going or like compiling. And a lot of times, this is the thing that gets me, and it's really funny because a lot of people think like This is a really touchy subject too. Comment below if I should go, like, actually do a stupid video on live scope. I'm going to tell you right now, with live scope, if you're like the best sharpshooter and you know exactly what fish are trying to bite on and you know right where they're at all the time, you're still not going to catch them. A lot of times you're not going to catch them. And then the fun thing about crappie in the springtime is it's basically useless. A lot of my crappie fishing is done in under 2-3 feet of water. Doesn't matter what lake I'm on. It's very shallow stuff and or extremely weedy. That was so that's another early spring tip is if you're fishing in the northern Midwest or anywhere up north above the ice belt, so where we get ice, a big thing that happens is the old weeds that normally are dead or dying by the end of the ice season. This year was crazy. We didn't get barely any ice, so I don't think any of the weeds really died off. So we might have a really weedy season this year, but a lot of fish will go back to those weeds very specifically to basically track down bugs that are in the weeds. And then like with sonars, you can't see through weeds. It doesn't, I don't care, like you would have to have like x-ray technology or whatever, and then you'd have to have like layers upon layers, which that might be something in the future they come up with, which would be some crazy new invention. I don't need it, I don't care. But the big thing is, yeah, so like if you're looking and you know where there's weed patches and you know where there's typical weed growth from years past, that's a really good place to start. Okay, so the big thing here I'm trying to convey to you guys, based on the questions that I got, and I've gotten a lot of these questions over the years, and I've tried to answer them in videos. If you see me missing, if you see me forget to like reference something in a video, comment below. Always comment below. I do read the comments because I want to make sure that when I'm making videos, they're actually ones that you guys want to see. Mind you, I fish for everything that swims. Walleye, perch, crappie, bluegill, bass, northern, muskie, carp, salmon, all the freaking trout species. Like whatever swims, I'm trying to fish for it. So you guys do know I even have a merch line. So that's one of my shirts. If you guys haven't seen this yet, I put that together for you guys that like big bluegills like I do. We like them thick. And yeah, I have a whole new merch line actually coming out this year. So if you stuck around this far, you can get dibs on it right now. It'll be listed down below. And then yeah, I will list a couple of things that I've used this spring in the description as far as like my rods, my reels, my line, and then like the baits and like my bobber and hook setups. Because you do have to have somewhat of an idea as far as like what's going to work. And I would do like an overview, and I've done a bunch of different like crappie bait and lure videos. They're in my Tackle Tip Tuesday playlist, and they're in my lures and descriptions playlist. But the big thing is, it's going to depend on where you're at. Some of these things are universal across the board. And then sometimes, like some crappies in some states, they just feed on giant baits. So you need big baits. And then some crappies are beat on so much, so often, that you need the tiniest little baits to get them to bite. That's all on you. That's going to be on, you know, how you study the fish and like how often you catch them, what you caught them on, and then make mental notes or even start a book. Like a log. I used to have a fishing log, but now I have everything in my phone. So hopefully this little Tackle Tip Tuesday helps you out. Get some merch if you guys want to hook up the channel for this year, and I can get out and do some more fishing for you guys. And then yeah, we're trying to get to 20,000 subs so I can start taking people fishing. And as soon as we do, we'll get out there. So hope you guys enjoyed this one. I hope you learned something. This was a long time coming, and yeah, I just wanted to help. So see you guys next time.